Flynn and the Fire. Flynn is a fire engine who works for the Sodor fire station. He loves to help out on all kinds of rescues, whether it's putting out a fire or rescuing someone from a tall place. Flynn will race to the rescue. He also likes to help others keep out of trouble and keep others safe. One day, Flynn was on his way back to the fire station. He had just rescued some children from a treehouse. He felt very proud of himself. Then he saw Percy by the school. He was delivering milk. Flynn stopped to see them. "Hello there," he smiled.
"Hello, Flynn,"
smiled the children.
"I brought the milk for the children's cooking class,"
said Percy.
"We're going to be doing some cooking. Our teacher's going to show us how to cook some fairy cakes,"
said the children. "That sounds like fun," said Flynn. "But make sure to be careful and listen to your teacher."
"We will, Flynn,"
agreed the children. Just then Norman rattled alongside Percy. He was pulling the post train. "Hello there," he joked. "What's going on here?" "The children are going to be doing some cooking today," replied Flynn. Norman thought this was exciting. "What are you going to be making?" Norman asked the children.
"We're going to be making fairy cakes," said the children. "We can't wait to show our mum and dad them."
Then the school bell rang and the children ran back inside. Percy was a bit puzzled.
"What are fairy cakes?"
he asked. "Fairy cakes are small round cakes with wings," said Norman. "The wings are made out of leftover pieces of cake." Percy liked this.
"Can fairy cakes fly?"
he asked. Flynn chuckled. "No, Percy," he said. "Come on, Flynn," called the driver. "We must get back to the fire station. We must be ready and on hand in case another emergency call comes in." "Yes, sir," tooted Flynn. He said goodbye to Percy and Norman and set off back to the fire station. Later that day, the men were checking Flynn all over to be sure that everything in him was working well. They checked his hose, his water gauges, and made sure his siren was working. It's always important for Flynn to be ready for action. But Flynn was thinking about the children and their fairy cakes. "I hope the children are doing okay with the cooking," he said to his driver. "The children will be fine," his driver replied. "As long as their teacher is there to help them, they'll be all right." But Flynn wished there was something he could do to help the children. He felt helpless just standing in his shed doing nothing. Suddenly, the fire alarm rang. The station officer ran out carrying a piece of paper. "There's a fire at the school!" he cried. Flynn was horrified. "Oh no!" he cried. "We must get there right away!" "Everyone's on board!" shouted Flynn's driver. All the firemen climbed on board. The doors opened and Flynn set off to the rescue. He raced as fast as he could along the line. The siren was loud and his wheels rattled along the line. "Clear the line! Fire engine coming through!" he cried. The signalman telephoned ahead to clear the line for Flynn. "All traffic halted!" he announced. Flynn raced through the junction as Oliver and his trucks had backed into the siding to let him through. Then Flynn could see the smoke in the distance. "There it is!" he called to his driver. "Steady on, Flynn," said his driver. He gently applied the brakes and Flynn came to a stop at the gate. Percy, who was waiting by with some empty trucks, was worried about the smoke. The children and their teacher were relieved to see Flynn. "Stay back, everyone," cautioned the station officer. "We'll put out the fire." The firemen put on breathing masks and carried a hose from Flynn into the building. The men were ready to turn on the water. Then, a moment later, a fireman waved his hand. "Water on!" he shouted. Another fireman turned on the tap and the water made its way through the hose. Norman arrived.
"Please, Flynn,"
whistled Percy. "Can we help?" tooted Norman. "No, stay well back, please," cried Flynn. The children watched as the smoke continued to pour out of the building.
Our fairy cakes,
moaned the little girl.
they will have to wait,
said the teacher. Then a fireman called out to the station officer. It's coming under control, he called. At last, with a final flush of water, the fire was out. Everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Even Percy and Norman were glad the fire was out. We did it! Cheered Flynn. The children cheered and Percy and Norman whistled and tooted together. Then the Fat Controller arrived on board Harvey on the works train. He had heard about the fire and had come to see what was happening. Is everyone alright? He asked. Everything is under control, said the station officer. The firemen are sorting out the mess. The station officer explained what had happened. The teacher walked over to them. She was puzzled.
I don't understand what happened,
she exclaimed. Then Flynn's driver came over to them and explained what caused the fire. It was the fairy cakes, he said. They were left in the oven for too long. The teacher was surprised.
I don't understand, she said. I set the egg timer and it should have gone off.
You must never take your eye off the cooking in the oven, Flynn's driver pointed out. Also, the battery in the egg timer went out. Let that be a lesson. Never leave your food go unwatched.
We're very sorry, said the children. We didn't mean to cause all this trouble.
Well, we're just glad you're all safe, soothed Flynn.
What are we going to do now?
asked the teacher. I'm afraid the school will have to be closed for repairs, replied the Fat Controller. Harvey and the workmen will start work as soon as the firemen are done here. Yes, sir, said Harvey. We'll have the school fixed up again. But what about the children, sir? asked Percy. They need something to do. We'll sort some things out, smiled the Fat Controller. Don't worry about that. So for the next couple of weeks, the children had to spend a few days off school to get over what happened. Then Percy took them to the post depot for a tour. They had a fun time looking at all the post and parcels and learning a lot from the postmaster. Then Norman took the children to the countryside for a special hike and a picnic in the fields. The picnic was delicious and even Norman was happy to see them enjoy themselves. Harvey and the workmen were working hard getting the school repaired, cleaned and fixed. A few weeks later, Flynn was resting in the shed at the fire station. He was thinking about the children and hoped they were okay. Then his driver opened the door. Come outside please, Flynn, he said. There are some people to see you. Flynn was puzzled. His driver climbed into his cab and drove Flynn out of the shed. When Flynn got into the sunlight, he gasped in delight. There was Bertie with the school children. The children cheered for Flynn and the teacher had a box full of fairy cakes.
We made you and the firemen these fairy cakes, said the children. It's our way of saying thank you for putting out the fire. We were very careful this time,
smiled the teacher. The station officer took the box from the teacher. He was very happy with the fairy cakes. Thank you very much, he smiled. We'll be sure to enjoy them. Just then Percy popped in with a train of fuel trucks. Hello, Flynn, he smiled. Hello, Percy, replied Flynn. The children have brought fairy cakes for us. Percy was very surprised, and that made him smile.
3 cheers for Flynn and the firemen,
cheered the children. The children and their teachers clapped and cheered. Percy blew his whistle, and then he heard Norman toot his horn in delight. Hooray for Flynn, he tooted. Thank you, everyone, said Flynn. His cheeks went red. Then a gust of wind blew a fairy cake out of Flynn's driver's hand and right into Percy's face. Oh no, groaned Flynn's driver. Are you all right, Percy? asked Norman. Yes, said Percy, but then he had a thought. I thought you said fairy cakes couldn't fly, Flynn, said Percy. Everyone laughed. Even Percy found it funny.
I guess it's possible,
He chuckled.
after all, fairy cakes do have wings.
And everyone chuckled happily to that.